Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.19. Samam Gunam. Evam Sandarshita Yanga Harina Vrityavasyata Swavashanapi Krishnena Yasyeram Seshvaram Vashe. I'll just chant it one more time myself since nobody seems to have it. Evam Sandarshita Yanga Harina Prityavashtrata Swavashanapi Krishnena Yasyeram Seshvaram Vashe. Synonyms. Evam, in this manner. Sandarshita was exhibited. He, indeed. Anga, O Maharaj Parikshit. Harina, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vritya Vasyata, his transcendental quality of becoming subordinate to his servitor or devotee. To his servitor or devotee. Svavashena, who is within the control only of his own self. Api, indeed. Krishnena, by Krishna. Yasya, of whom. Idam, the whole universe. Sa Ishvaram, with the powerful demigods, like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Vase, under the control. Translation and amazing, wonderful purport by His Divine Grace Bhagavatam Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Oh, Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe, everyone listen very, very carefully. Oh, Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. Does anybody know what this one transcendental attribute is? He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this beautiful, amazing pastime. Purport. This pastime of Krishna's is very difficult to understand, but devotees can understand it. It is therefore said, Darsayams tadvidam lokat manu bhaktavasyatam. The Lord displays the transcendental attributes of coming under the control of his devotees. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Eko pyasa rachiyatam jagaranda kotim yachaktirasta jagaranda chayayaranta andantarasa paramanu chayantarashtam govindamari purusham tamaham vajami. By his one plenary portion as Paramatma, the Lord controls innumerable universes with all their demigods, yet he agrees to be controlled by a devotee. In the Upanishads, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can run with more speed than the mind. But here we see that although Krishna wanted to avoid being arrested by his mother, he was finally defeated and Mother Yashoda captured him. Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambham Sevyamanam. Krishna is served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. Nonetheless, he steals butter like one who is poverty-stricken. They seem like conundrums. Yamaraj, the controller of all living entities, fears the order of Krishna, yet Krishna is afraid of his mother's stick. These contradictions cannot be understood by one who is not a devotee, but a devotee can understand how powerful is unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. It is so powerful. Like, is everybody awake? Is everybody listening? Say Haribol.
Haribol.
Okay, Jai. It is so powerful that Krishna can be controlled by an unalloyed devotee. This Bhritya Vasyata does not mean that he is under the control of the servant. Rather, he is under the control of the servant's pure love. So he is not under the control of the servant. Rather, what is he under control of?
Servant's love.
Pure love. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. Arjuna ordered him, Senaya Ubaya Madhye Ratam Stapaya Me Chuta. My dear Krishna, you have agreed to be my charioteer and to execute my orders. Place my chariot between the two armies of soldiers. Krishna immediately executed this order, and therefore one may argue that Krishna also is not independent. But this is one's agyana, ignorance. Krishna is always fully independent. When he becomes subordinate to his devotees, this is a display of Ananda Chinmaya Ras, the humor of transcendental qualities that increases his transcendental pleasure. Everyone worships Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he sometimes desires to be controlled by someone else. I'm going to read that again. Everyone worships Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he sometimes desires to be controlled by someone else. More fun, right? We'll just talk about that in class. Such a controller can be no one else but a pure devotee. Let's all sincerely pray to be able to understand to our acharyas, our teachers who have passed down this knowledge and given us everything. Om Agyanatimirandasya Jananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunidam Dena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadadi Swabudandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Parakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaranatam Vidam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganalita Shri Vishakamatam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Godangi Radhe Vindaveshwari Vishavanu Sade Devi Panamami Hari Pre Vanchaka Patirubhischa Kripasindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Bhavani Vaishnavi Namo Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shrinivari Pastadare Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaudavanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the entire universe is under the control of Krishna. The demigods like Brahma, Shiva, and Indra are under the control of Krishna. Yet, Krishna comes under whose control? Yeah, you can say it loudly.
Devotee.
Haribo! Why? Why does he come under the control of his devotees? Because he controls everything, and everyone worships him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that is boring compared to love relationships. He wants to feel what it is like to be controlled by love. Don't we all want that? Everyone is looking for love. George Harrison said, all you need is love. So he actually desires to be controlled by someone else's love and enacts these pastimes to fulfill his desire. And if you think about it, we are all here in this material world. Why? Because we wanted to be the controller. And how is that going for us? How's it going, guys? Are we really happy?
No.
Thank you. You are a fit candidate to go back home to the spiritual world because you understand that this material world is misery. Do we really receive pleasure out of controlling others? Is it really fun? We think it's fun. We think if you just do what I want you to do, I will be satisfied. But we get real satisfaction from that. It is actually far more pleasurable to love someone so much that we come under the control and do what they want us to do. Krishna doesn't have to do what anyone else wants him to do. He doesn't have to be caught by anyone. but he enjoys being punished by his mother. He runs with more speed than the mind, the Upanishads say, but he allows himself to be caught by Mother Yashoda. He is served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, yet he steals butter like a poverty-stricken person. He doesn't need the butter. He's the creator of the butter, right? He can make universes out of butter if he wanted, just for his own enjoyment. He could swim in butter if he wants, just for his own enjoyment. He could make oceans of butter just for his own enjoyment. But he enjoys stealing the butter from his devotees and getting caught because he enjoys seeing how it increases their love for him. Okay, so is he egotistical? No, he is also trying to please his devotees and make them happy by increasing their love for him. Because he knows that he is the source of all love and the jiva's real happiness is to love him. And also everyone is his creation and comes from him. Yamaraj, who is the messenger of death and the one responsible for judging and punishing people, is afraid of Krishna and tells his servants to not go near anyone who worships Krishna. Yet Krishna is afraid of his mother's stick. Every emotion in the spiritual world is enjoyable. Everything that we experience here in this material world is actually a perverted reflection of the original pure experience in the spiritual world. So in this material world, fear is not enjoyable, is it? Do you guys enjoy being afraid? Is anxiety fun? Who thinks anxiety is fun? Just kidding. It is fearful, and we only experience fear when we turn away from Krishna. But the fear in the spiritual world is enjoyable because it's just a different manifestation of love. Every emotion in the spiritual world is actually spiritual ecstasy of a relationship with Krishna, love with Krishna. So when Krishna is controlled by an unalloyed devotee, it does not mean he is controlled by the servant. It means he is controlled by the devotee's pure love. Krishna is always fully independent, but when he chooses of his own free will to become subordinate to his devotees, it's a display of his Ananda Chinmaya Ras, the humor of transcendental qualities that increases his transcendental pleasure. He is using his independence to increase his pleasure. It's very difficult to understand Krishna, but the devotee can understand because the devotee has, thank you. The whole material world is based on fear. And that desire too, good job. We have so many things that we want and so many things that we think we have to have in order to meet our needs. We worry about our shelter, our food, our body. Am I going to get what I need? Will it fulfill my needs? And will I be also able to keep it? Everyone's like, what are my needs? Let me think about my feelings. What are my needs? 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 We can't keep anything in this material world. Our friends, our family, our home. But even if we could keep them, they don't give us perfect security, communication. They never, ever meet all our needs. Is it possible to meet all of your needs in this material world? Does anyone feel right now at this moment 100% of their needs are being met? Okay, perfect. We're afraid because there's so many powers greater than us. I could be sleeping in a beautiful room covered in marble with silk Egyptian sheets, or no, that's cotton, Egyptian cotton sheets or silk sheets, and one little mosquito can cause so much trouble that I want to run out of the room. Isn't it? It's hilarious. This is Krishna's sense of humor, actually. My friend Nandana from Krishna House, she says, we get canker sores and we think we're God. Does God really get canker sores? Like, you know, this like super annoying thing. Like, do God's gums bleed? Come on, we're not God. So, where was I? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have written that down. We're afraid because we have so little power. The solution for our fear is to take shelter of Krishna. He is at the top. Durga Devi is shaking before him. Durga can create universes, but she's the maidservant of Krishna. Lord Shiva's dancing destroys the universe, yet he's afraid of Krishna because Krishna's at the top. So when we take shelter of Krishna, we lose our fear. When we take shelter of Krishna, what happens?
We lose our fear.
We lose our fear because we have shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Vaya Charanada Vindare. Krishna is our best friend. He knows everything about us and still loves us. Do you know anybody who like, and even when we're envious of Krishna, he still stays with us. So if someone is envious of us in this material world, how do we react? If someone is envious of you, are you like, I'm still going to be your best friend? Probably not, right? We push them away, isn't it? We don't want them anywhere near us. We're like, you're envious of me. I'm going to create my boundary and block you out of my friend circle because I don't need someone envious in my life. Hello. I'm going to keep positive people around me who love me. But Krishna's not like that. He's not like, oh, you're envious. Like, I'm going to put a boundary against you. I'm going to keep you out of my circle. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have boundaries in the material world because we totally should. But Krishna, he doesn't do that. We want to imitate Krishna and steal his opulence. And yet he loves us so much that he stays with us. He's literally in our heart with us through millions and millions of lifetimes. When we're a worm, because we have been a worm before. Newsflash, if you didn't know, we have been a worm before. We have been a worm and stool before, actually speaking. And Krishna was with us in our heart when we were a worm and stool. Just think about that for a moment. Krishna loves us so much. He gives us all the knowledge and remembrance that we want. When we know that our best friend is controlling everything, we don't have anything to fear because they have our best interests in mind. Even in this material world, if we're like, yeah, Bill Gates is my best friend, we're gonna like have a certain amount of fearlessness because we'll be like, yo, he's gonna take care of me. It's like you go to the party and you're like, my friend is the host of this. My friend owns this club, okay? Like you feel a certain sense of like, your body kind of goes like, yeah, I know the right people and they're my friend. They've got my back. Krishna is God and he's got our back. He loves us. He is our ever well-wisher. So people sometimes become religious because God will walk in front of me with the broom, taking all my obstacles away, isn't it? They're like, I will become religious and then everything will be great for me. Like the prosperity gospel. If God loves you, you will be rich. If I can just figure out what Krishna wants, then everything will be materially successful. There'll be no more sickness, poverty, nasty people. That's not why the devotee becomes fearless. That's not pure devotional service. He becomes fearless because he knows God is all good and merciful, that everything that happens for the good is for the good, because Krishna is my best friend and everything's under his control. And Krishna is going to take care of all of my needs all the time in a perfect way. I might not think it is the perfect way, right? I might be like, why are you doing this to me, Krishna? I'm suffering. But what we don't understand is that it actually is. So I will have that faith. And an example is sometimes if a child is sick, let's just say, Asha, sorry to like point you out, but like say you're having an allergic reaction, right? And like the child is having an allergic reaction, not Asha. The child is having an allergic reaction and the child is gonna die. And they're like, I'm gonna stick this EpiPen in you. And the child's like, no, this is not favorable for me. But it's like, if you don't take this, you're gonna die, right? And then you put the EpiPen in the child or the medicine, like say you have typhoid fever. You get that in India, at least you used to. And like you need the medicine. The child's like, this medicine like tastes disgusting. And they think the medicine is poison. But is the medicine poison? The medicine is not bad. The infection is bad. The allergic reaction is bad. Sometimes we were like that child. We think, Krishna, this medicine that you're giving me is horrible. But actually, it's not the medicine that's horrible. It's our false ego that is horrible. And Krishna is giving the medicine that we need to purify our false ego, to come back to the spiritual world. Because what would we rather do, honestly? Would we rather stay sick for millions and millions of more lifetimes, taking birth again as worm and stool? Or would we prefer to go back to the spiritual world, to play with Krishna in the spiritual world, and to have a life full of eternity, knowledge, and bliss? Anybody? What would you prefer? I would definitely prefer to go back and be with Krishna. So want to know the funny thing? When you focus on Krishna and serving him, gradually you forget your needs because you're so focused on Krishna. So the same Krishna is afraid. He's not acting. He's actually afraid. The impersonals think that the ultimate end is peace. There is something much higher than peace, spiritual emotion. All those emotions are full of ecstasy. We can have a little idea in this material world that even fear can be pleasure. People, for example, will pay money to go on a roller coaster, not maybe because they hate roller coasters. Yeah, I had a bad experience. I almost fell out of a roller coaster when I was a kid. I was like, we were going down and my seatbelt wasn't strong enough. And I went down and the roller coaster went down and Champakalata flew up. And Champakalata's uncle was like, meh. So after that, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going on a roller coaster again because I almost just died. They are scary, but that's why people think they're fun. People go see scary movies, which I also never understood. I hate scary movies. And to feel scared, yeah, they get some kind of kick out of it, which I never understood ever. Like, why are you going to be scared for like months after watching this movie? Like, there's this movie Underneath the Water or something. I remember I was scared in my bathtub for like 2 months after watching that movie. So, and it's also enjoyable to people for people to fall in love, right? There's also the example of the politician who goes to see some big high court judge, and he's waiting and he looks inside and the big high court judge is giving his granddaughter a horseback ride on his back. So he is serving his granddaughter. Krishna enjoys in his pastime swallowing the forest fire. So basically he's this like big important person, right? And sometimes we think, oh, I'll be happy if I become a big important person. But is being a big important person what's giving that person pleasure? No, becoming a servant of his granddaughter and giving her an airplane ride or a piggyback ride is what's giving him pleasure. So Krishna enjoys in his pastime swallowing the forest fire and saving all his devotees from death. Krishna knows what all his devotees' favorite foods are also. Sometimes we think, oh, when I become a pure devotee, I won't have favorites anymore. But even pure devotees have favorites because we're people. So we don't ever stop being people, which is pretty cool. The ladies who live in Vrindavan and who are watching Krishna be afraid. So the black koiman is running down his face. Mother Yashoda is thinking, I don't want him to be too afraid because that will cause some psychological problems. I just want him to be a good boy, not mentally disturbed. She's not thinking Krishna took my butter. She's thinking Krishna took his butter and gave it to the monkeys. The ladies in Vrindavan aren't thinking, why is Krishna afraid? He's taking away everyone else's fear. They're just laughing in transcendental bliss. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching. When we hear these pastimes of Krishna, we should want to participate in them, to be part of the pastime and see how charming Krishna is. Prabhupada said the residents of Vrindavan just want to see Krishna smile. Devotees just want to give Krishna pleasure. This is the mood we are trying to cultivate. So devotees, they like I said earlier, when you become so absorbed in serving Krishna, you actually forget your needs. Right now, everything is about, when the false ego is running, everything is about me. Me. How am I feeling today? How is devotional service making me feel today? How is my rounds making me feel today? How ecstatic am I feeling today? What is my body feeling today? What is this feeling today? How am I feeling today? How am I feeling today? What is my relationship? What is my me, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. We walk around literally. I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. That's like our mantra. I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. Oh, I don't feel good. Let me take care of myself. Let me pet myself. So literally, I mean, literally, like people do like tapping techniques. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with tapping techniques. So I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, please, if you need to do that, please do that. I'm not like doubting that, but it's literally, it's like, when you're a pure devotee, you don't need to tap yourself. You're just like, Krishna, 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 I love Krishna, I love Krishna. But it doesn't make you not love yourself. You love yourself more because you're part and parcel of Krishna. So, where are they going with this? They just want to give Krishna pleasure. They're just totally absorbed in giving Krishna pleasure. So this is the mood that we want to cultivate. So I wish I had time to read this entire chapter to you, and I'm really sad that I don't. I really wish I could give the Bhagavatam class tomorrow too, because this is the best book ever written by Shiva Ramaswamy. And it's literally, the entire book is just on the Damodar Leela, and they have an entire chapter just for this verse and the next verse, which is going deeply into it.
Who's on the cover?
Yeah, it's Mother Yashoda. So beautiful. So I have like 2 minutes. I'm going to read you just a tiny little bit of it. I wish we had time to read the whole thing. What? So when this is happening, the supremely competent controlling potency of the Lord, the Vibhuti Shakti, continued to observe Krishna's mood. My Lord remains as stubborn as ever. While he persists thus, I must continue to ensure Mother Yashoda's efforts to tie him remain insufficient, making every additional length of the rope the same 2 fingers width short. Krishna's Satya Sankalpa Shakti commented, the queen has not been discouraged by her lack of success. Instead, she has become increasingly anxious to do what she thinks is best for him. The Vibhuti Shakti replied, as much anxiety as the Lord's mother feels, it is not yet enough. How is that? Please explain it to me. Dear lady, the 2 fingers width gap, because when she was tying the rope, it was always still 2 fingers too short. So what do these 2 fingers represent? What do the 2 fingers represent that are needed to bind the Lord with our love? 2 fingers with gaps represents Yashoda Devi's anxiety and the Lord's special compassion for her. When her anxiety reaches a fever pitch, then the special mercy, the Kripa Shakti, will descend. And at that time, my power will be nullified and the rope tied. If I understand well, the Lord will submit to his mother when he sees intense fatigue or intense effort in serving him. That is correct. As it is said, Drishva Parishramam Krishna Kripaya Shitsva Bandhane. Seeing his mother thus fatigued, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound. Then the lesson from this pastime is that although the Lord has no beginning nor end, no inside nor outside, he can be contained and controlled by his devotees' intense love. Yes, may we too be blessed by such ardent attachment to him. So I wish I could keep reading forever, but basically this is teaching us that we can also bind the Lord by our pure love. And we should intensely pray that someday our love will become powerful enough to bind the Lord. How can we do that? We could think, I will do so many austerities, I will chant so many rounds, I will do this, and I will gain the Lord. But we have to understand that, yes, we should do that. We should serve the Lord very, very nicely under the proper authority, under the proper guidance of our Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Not that like we come up with our own program. We follow the program that's given to us by authorities. And we have this intense anxiety, this intense eagerness, this intense enthusiasm, this intense longing, this intense begging to try so hard to serve the Lord. And then that will attract the Lord's mercy. And the combination of our own effort and the Lord's mercy will give us pure love. And our pure love will be able to find the Lord in an eternal, beautiful relationship. So my sincere prayer before opening it up to discussion and questions is that each and every one of you in this life can attain that pure love and bind the Lord with your love. And then when the Lord brings you back home, back to Godhead, please remember me and say, Champakalata is still down there suffering. Can you please bring her here too? Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you so much for your kind attention. Let's please open it up to comments, questions, corrections, etc. We're going to start here with the in-person audience, and then we'll open it up to the online audience. And since I can't see the Zoom, if you could just tell me if there's any questions in the chat also. Does anyone have any questions or comments here in person?
Let's turn it to myself. Hare Krishna. Just a quick comment and then a question for you. When you were talking about how Krishna desires to be controlled by love, I was just thinking the embodiment of that is Lord Chaitanya. And it's kind of funny because God is the controller, Krishna is the controller of everything, but he's getting more pleasure from being controlled. And when we imitate God, we're trying to be the controller. But even God himself, we're not really imitating God nicely because he's very humble and he wants to be, he aspires for the servant of the servant of the servant. So if we really want to, I was just reading Vrindavan Das's Dasi Puja offering in 2020. That book of all these pastimes with Maharaj.
Oh yeah.
And in one of them he said, we should imitate Krishna without false ego, because Krishna has amazing qualities, the 64 qualities. And we have, it's like 50 of those qualities. The Jiva has 54, 50.
I think 50.
So these qualities are just so great. We should embody them. And one of them is, just being the servant of the servant of the servant. So then my question to you was, you were talking about how everything is Krishna's mercy and everything is ultimately.
Can I just say one thing on your first comment?
Go ahead.
We should not imitate Krishna. We should imitate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came as the devotee of Krishna. The entire Chaitanya Charitamrita is teaching us how to be a devotee. So we should study Chaitanya Charitamrita and follow in Lord Chaitanya's footsteps.
I mean, I said that because Maharaj had said we should imitate Krishna without dasi. But yes, Lord Chaitanya, following the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, hearing more about Chaitanya Charitamrita. They say that it's actually sweeter, and his pastimes are sweeter than Krishna's. Yeah, even pure devotees' pastimes are sweeter than Lord Chaitanya's. Pastimes of Prabhupada's pastimes are more full of nectar. So, anyway, my question was, everything is absolutely good, and so I know you've had some difficult experiences in your life. Like, I don't want to share your whole story, but you have struggled with health, and you've also struggled with kind of subtle being experience, and you were trying very hard to kind of. It was really separate. Oh, okay. Well, then just keeping it vague. You had experiences, and very difficult experiences, and how did you come to understand the lesson in those? That's okay.
How did I come to understand the lessons in those? Queen Kunti, she actually has the experience. She prays after going through so many different difficult experiences. She prays, actually, may you send more and more difficult experiences, because in those difficult experiences, I was able to take deep shelter of you, and in taking that deep shelter of you is where I found the most shelter. And I'm not on the level of Queen Kunti where I'm praying for more Krishna to send more and more difficult experiences. I'm praying for Krishna to take away the difficult experiences so that I can better serve him. Srila Prabhupada's mission. But I can say that some of my most deepest spiritual experiences and feeling of Krishna's love and feeling of I'm not the body, I'm the soul, have been in extreme difficult experiences and extreme physical pain. And in the moment, sometimes in the moment, it's very difficult and you feel that, why is this happening to me? But even sometimes in the moment, you know why this is happening to you. And I actually had an experience, and Bhakti Tirtha Swami writes about this in his Surrender book. When he had cancer, he actually was able to see his cancer as his best friend. And he was able to see it as teaching him lessons and bringing him closer to Krishna. And I actually had that experience because I was critically ill for 4 years and have struggled with my health for 10 years. And I had an experience one time of being in the garden in the DC temple. And I actually saw my illness as like a person. and felt like some of the deepest love that I ever felt for anyone, to that illness, and saw it as a beautiful teacher teaching me lessons and bringing me deeper in my Krishna consciousness. Because through that intense experience, I really was able to receive so much mercy from my spiritual master and the devotees around me. And my false ego was purified so intensely. And I remember, before I got sick, I was very inspired by the journey home. And I prayed to Krishna, don't try this at home, but I prayed to Krishna, like, I want to follow in the footsteps of Radha Swami, and I want to be purified, and I want to achieve pure devotional service in this very lifetime. And no matter what it takes, like, I'm ready for any purification. Like, just no matter what it takes, please purify me. And pretty soon after is when I fell sick. I also had an experience of, I used to get so much pain. Like, when you go to the hospital, they tell you to rate your pain from like a 1 to 10. Mine was like a 10, like all day, every day for like 4 years. To get to the point where I would be like shaking and I wouldn't even know how I could sit up straight or chant my rounds. But I would force myself to chant my rounds all 16 straight through. And for the first hour, it would be like so much pain. But then I would have an experience where I would just keep bringing my mind back to the holy name. And then something amazing would happen. The holy name would take over. And I would become totally absorbed in the holy name and feel Krishna's presence in his holy name. And my body would melt away and the pain would melt away. And I would feel myself as a soul different from my body. And when I stopped chanting japa, the pain would come back, but it would go away during that time. And I had such a visceral experience of like, I am not my body, I am the soul. And that I had such a deep realization of this material world is not us. And I had a realization, like, I was, before that experience, and still even now, like, I have a very, like, my conditioning and my father's conditioning also were like eternal optimists. We think life is amazing, everything will be great. My dad has Parkinson's disease, and just until very recently, he was like, I'm gonna get better, everything is gonna be great, everything is gonna be perfect, right? Even when things are like really, SHITTY, it's like, he's like, everything is gonna be great. And I'm like that too, like, everything is gonna be great. And like, we put so much like, this material world is gonna be great. But that experience, like, it's like, hello, like, you are not going to find your happiness in this material world. Krishna took everything away from me. Like, I had everything before this experience. Like, I had money, I had talent, I had friends, I had everything. And Krishna literally took like everything away and was like, you're not going to get your happiness from these external things. Your happiness is within, your happiness is in your relationship with me. And I had that realization. And I even find now, like, sometimes, like, I'm still sick, but like, I'm better than I was then. And I start to think like, oh, my happiness is going to come with a particular service, or my happiness is going to become with a particular life situation. My happiness is going to come when I get married, or my happiness is going to come like whatever. And it's like, I have to remind myself of like, hello, you were like so sick, you had nothing, and that was like the happiest that you ever were in your entire life. Like, these external things don't give happiness. And so we should pray that we don't need intense suffering to have that realization. But these kind of sufferings can teach us and give us this realization. Krishna knows best. Does that answer your question? I know.
Oh, sorry. Forgot.
I'll tell you too.
They don't know the details.
May Krishna send you dancing to whatever appears to be difficult.
Govindam Hari Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Namaham Bhajami Hare Krishna, Namaham Bhajami, Govinda, Hare Krishna, Namaham Bhajami, Govinda, Hare Krishna, Namaham Bhajami, Govinda, Hare Krishna, Namaham Bhajami.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Good seeing you all. Bright faces, Krishna conscious faces. Be happy here and now, like Krishna Daya taught us. Want to become Krishna conscious? Chant now. So be happy now. Be happy now. Hare Krishna. Love you all. Hare Bol.